Hello there everyone and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we are going to be playing with butterflies, glitter cardstock and also some alcohol inks. So to start with, I am going to be using the Dazzling Diamond glitter cardstock from Altenew, and I'm just going to be using one of these so we can colour it with some alcohol inks. The alcohol inks I'm going to be using are Dewdrops, Pink Diamond and also Wisteria. Now when you're using alcohol inks, you want to use colours that are close together unless you're going to get kind of a muddy brownie colour. And as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm just dabbing the colours down onto that glitter cardstock, and then I'm moving that around with a foam dauber. Now, if you wanted a darker look, you could definitely use darker colours, or you can keep kind of building these colours up. You can see that I started with a really light colour, and then the more that I add and move around, the darker that's going to be. So once I'm happy with the amount of colour that I have down on my cardstock, I'm just going to move that over to the side and let that dry. Alcohol inks don't take long to dry, so you can just move that over to the side and it won't take too long. Now I'm going to move on to the background. I'm using the Chevron background hot foil plate, and I've put that in my hot foiling machine and let that heat up till it's to temperature. I'm then going to take some of the brass foil from Altenew. I'm going to pop that shiny side down onto the plate and then a piece of cardstock that I wish to foil. For my machine, I do need to use a couple of shims. Do not use shims if you do not need to. Once that has been run through my die cutting machine, I can then remove the shims that I don't need and then remove the foil to reveal the design. Once that's done, I've moved that over to the side, and then I'm going to take my coloured glitter cardstock again. This time I'm going to be die cutting this. I'm using the Mix and Match Mariposa Die Set. I'm using 3 of the solid butterflies for this one. So I'm just going to pop that into place onto the glitter cardstock, and I am going to use my little mini blossom machine to cut these out. So I'm just popping them into place. Now the little antennas on these can be quite delicate, so do be careful when you remove these from the excess sheet. Now I am going to cut as many of these little butterflies that I have from the glitter cardstock that we've just coloured. So I did manage to get 7 little butterflies out of this little sheet. So I did 3, another 3, and then I did a singular one right at the end because I had a little more room. And I do like to have that odd number of die cuts or images on my card. So I'm glad that I made it to the 7. For the second layer of the butterflies, I did want a gold that kind of matched the gold from my background. So I'm just kind of using the Gilded glitter cardstock and just popping them next to that background to make sure I've got the right colour. And it turns out that the brushed gold works really well with that brass. So once I have chosen my glitter cardstock, I am going to cut all of the second layer of these butterflies, so the detail layers, from that gold cardstock. So as before, I did manage to get 7 of these beautiful butterflies out of this piece of glitter cardstock. Again, do be very careful when you're removing all of the little landlocked pieces. These pieces can be quite delicate. So once I have all of my butterflies cut, so the base layers and also the detail layer, what I'm going to do to add a little bit of movement to these is kind of pull the bodies away from the leaves. So I'm just bending them a little bit so that the beautiful butterfly can bend upwards. So I'm putting my nail either side of the little butterfly body and then bending the wings upwards to give that effect there. Once that's done, I am going to use some glossy accents to pop these into place. You are going to need a really strong adhesive to keep glitter cardstock on top of glitter cardstock, and this is the best glue that I have found for it. So all I'm doing is I am adding a little bit of that glue just along the body of the butterfly and then popping that into place onto the base butterfly image. Once that's done, for the sentiment, I have the Sweet Sentiments hot foil plate, and I've just hot foiled these using the brass hot foil again onto some white cardstock. I'm also going to use the coordinating die set, and I'm just going to be using the shadow effect from there just to die cut out my sentiment. You don't need to. You could definitely just leave this as a strip if you wanted to, but I do love the effect of that gold foiling being beautifully die cut using the die. So I'm just going to die cut by placing that around the foiled image and then using my little mini blossom to die cut it. I then have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base, and I am going to pop my background panel on. I did trim this down to 4 and 5 1/4, so I'm going to have a little white edge around the outside. I was then going to pop my butterflies on, but I felt that it was a little bit too busy. So I'm just going to take a piece of vellum and then pop that down, and that's going to kind of distort that background and mute it a little bit. I'm then going to play around with the 3 larger butterflies and pop those into place using some foam tape first. I'm adding foam tape to both of the little wings so they pop up a little bit, and then the body is kind of close to the base. I did add 2 little pieces of foam, and then I'm just going to remove the backing and then pop them into place. For this third one here, I decided I didn't want that foam, so I'm just going to remove it off one of the wings. I can then add a little bit of tape behind here because, as we know, vellum can be translucent and you want to put the adhesive where it's not going to be seen. So for the other 2 little butterflies, so the medium butterflies that we have, I am going to pop those down flat behind those raised butterflies that we have there with the foam tape. So I'm just going to pop those into place. And then for the 2 smaller ones, I am going to pop those using a little bit of the Instant Dimension foam tape from Altenew. Once I'm happy with the placement of all the butterflies, I can then add some more tape behind. So this is the super sticky tape from Altenew, and it's the smallest one that they do have. Once I have that in place behind the butterflies, I'm then just going to remove that backing, and then I can pop this panel into place on the card base. So once I have my main panel into place and nicely adhered, I can then add in the sentiment. I only need to add some foam tape to the first part of the sentiment because the rest of it's going over, but I do need to double layer that up. So all I'm going to do is cut a small piece of that foam, pop that back onto the foam tape so I have a double layer, and then I can just cut through that to create some really kind of thick pieces of foam there. I'm just going to add that to the front part of the sentiment because the second part, even if I add the foam tape, it's going to really rise it up, and I want it to be nice and flat. Once I'm happy with where the placement is of the foam, I can pop that one into place. Now I did want to add a little bit more detail to this. You could definitely send it as is, but what I'm going to do is I am going to add some little enamel dots. I do have the R family enamel dots, and I'm adding some really light purples, some light turquoise, and then some of the pink diamond ones as well. So there is the card complete. I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video and that you liked the card as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques, and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.